And we go. Hello, good day, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Myriad of Chains. We are recording earlier in the morning here on premises because we have the joy and honor to receive one more time one of our advisors, one of Myriad.Social advisors, Josh Powell, which will introduce himself. He will introduce himself like pretty soon again because it's been a while you haven't heard about him. And for this episode, we are going to go again through the old switcheroo, and I'm gonna throw the ball to our friend Pandus as to our audio decentricity, not only to show us stuff. No. This time she will host and we will talk. So Pandu, you ask the questions.
All right, I'm gonna ask the questions today. Are we close to 1984 yet?
Well, 2024.
Well, maybe 1984 is 2024. What do you think?
What do I think? I think that we've crossed that bridge like a long time ago, but okay.
Not
Would
in
you say cross?
1984 though.
Would you say cross the Rubicon?
Yeah. What do you do? Like, okay, all right. Elaborate, please.
Oh, you don't. That's a Trumpism, crossing the
We
Rubicon.
know it's a Trumpism, Josh. Goddamn.
You said elaborate.
No, elaborate. Like, a long time ago. Like you assume that I don't know. That's
But
I thought,
don't. And
I thought Danny didn't know.
Rubicon.
No,
Rubicon.
I was asking you to elaborate when we crossed it, like what actually happened, and I was asking Danny most of all because Danny said we crossed it a long time ago. So elaborate.
All right.
Not
So
good
Josh,
at it.
you go first because you use the Trumpism. I barely know what the Trumpism is because I want to remember everyone that I'm coming.
Right here. I'm insulted.
In French,
All right,
Rubicon, a Rubicon person means that you're kind of short and fat. So I guess we haven't crossed any kind of short and fat person. I think it's something else.
Well, next time we meet, I'll let you step over me and we can call it.
You're not short, and I don't think I think you're more powerful than fat. But then, yeah.
So I'm Josh Powell. I'm an advisor. I live in Michigan, around near Detroit. I ran for office and I work IT in my day job. So that's my introduction again.
All right. And you have some pretty unique life experience though, right? So we're gonna cut that if you don't want to, but you can talk about your past in the military also.
Oh yeah, I was an
If you want
MP
to.
for 6 years. Went to Afghanistan for 18 months and Kosovo for 6 months.
That's wow. So that gives you probably some insights in a lot of things that us civilians don't see, and yeah, that's a pretty interesting point of view to explore if ever you're okay to explore it. And anyway, I'm hosting again out of habit. Pandu, that's you. That's your role today.
I can't, right? But like, yeah, I'll try. Yeah, Josh. I mean, I've known you for years, obviously. So it feels funny asking you this, but tell me your thoughts about.
We met on 2600. Remember?
Yes. I remember that. So I know that you. Well, I know that you like computers at least.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah. Tell us more. Like how was it like over there? Like in all of the places you went to.
Well, Michigan was one of the few places that unfortunately went bluer this past election. But so we're dealing with that. It's not even the blue thing. It's just that the unions bought the elections, and unions are a good thing in most of the world, but in the U.S. they generally mean corruption. But at least the UAW. I believe 2 more UAW personnel got arrested today for corruption in Michigan by the feds, as a matter of fact. But the one of them accepted a $300,000 bribe from a Chinese official, and the other one accepted a bribe, I believe, from a Ukrainian official. yeah, that was our local news today.
This is concerning. Like, from like from a French. This
From a
sends
Frenchie.
shivers down my spine because unions are so important in France, and they are so such a key part of our economy and workers' right and everything. And to hear something like that, it's like, yeah.
Well, if you're interested, so a little bit of more. I know this is like hyper local to
Mm.
Michigan as a state, but to get we're obviously EV, they're trying to push EVs. I don't say EVs are the future, because actually EVs are the past, because I don't know if you know, but the first vehicles ever were electric vehicles before there were internal combustion vehicles. But so now we're going back to EVs, but there's a big push to try to push along EVs. So they've tried to elicit investors to come build battery plants in Michigan. And of course, one of the major investors um, is the Chinese, and specifically the CCP. And we have the government here is proposing, or the state level government that is proposing to give a large tax incentive to the CCP. And I have a little snippet of that agreement here that I'm pulling up that we can look at if you want, or that I can read from.
Yeah, if you're okay. Yeah, sure. I think you're
Uh,
just
here, oh well, actually, well, okay. I guess I should bring it up and then look at it. That's a good
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Well,
So
here
if
I'll read from it, and then I'll bring it up, but because I already have it brought up on my phone. But so Article 8 of the agreement says the chairman shall act as a legal representative of the company, and Article 9 defines what the chairman is. So the company shall set up a party organization and carry out party activities in accordance with the Constitution of the Communist Party of China. The company shall ensure necessary conditions for carrying out party activities. The secretary of the party committee shall be the chairman and CEO of the company.
wow.
So that's the
Speechless. I want to
that's
share my screen about the fact though, because like this being the internet, but yeah, first crude electric vehicle is developed in it's 1832. This is, you just taught me something, Josh. Like,
oh yeah, you did.
wow. I mean,
Yeah,
super
well, I
wow.
didn't realize this. Well, I did sort of realize this, but like it wasn't like on the it was in the back of my mind. Like I knew it was like not recent. I didn't realize it was in the 1800s. Interesting.
Yeah, I knew that the very first car was a steam car, but that I didn't. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Uh,
why I always like to
Why
point
didn't it
that out
catch
whenever
on?
people say, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, why didn't it catch on? I wonder.
oh, probably for the same reasons. It took time to catch on, like right now, like battery size and
Oh
longevity
yeah,
and
sure.
and mileage. I mean, like this thing must weight like probably 17 tons.
Yeah,
Like
it'd be
it's
interesting to
seven.
see what the range were of them at the
Yeah.
at that
We should
time.
rebuild them.
But yeah, I always like to point that out when people say we're going the electric cars of the future, and I was like, well, they're also the past.
There's
So
all they're the best. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I've obviously been to Michigan. I've been to Detroit. And it's not good. As in, like, the city looks like, I'm with apologies to everyone living there, but like I felt in danger a lot in a lot of the areas. Like we went there's a lot of abandoned houses and abandoned stores. Not everywhere, but like yeah, I mean it looks sort of
abandoned
like
whole
I mean I
sections of
used to
cities.
play you played Fallout 4, right? Like it's like it's like Fallout 4 parts of it. And what I mean, what happened there, Josh? Like tell us more about that.
Well, I mean, Detroit is just a classic example of like one industry city.
Mm.
So whenever the Detroit expanded rapidly during World War II, between World War I and World War II, because Henry Ford built the first assembly line here, then paid people well, so everyone moved here. Because Henry Ford's whole thing was to build cars affordably, but then his whole idea too was to pay his workers enough to be able to afford the cars they built, because that's been his consumer base, is the people who are actively building the cars. So he made his own consumer base while he also made the while he also hired his workers. So that was, there's a lot more complicated to it than that, obviously. But then World War II happened, and we had a the largest factory ever built was in Michigan, at least at that time. I don't know if that's still true today. But that was to build B-25 bombers. There's like large quarter-mile long size buildings, things like that are still kind of left over around here. But then after the war, obviously a lot of defense spending went down, but then there was still a big boom. And then with the a lot of people will say it was white flight, but realistically it was just that the UAW took control of, after Henry Ford passed away, he was able to keep sort of the UAW in check because he was paying his workers more than anyone else anyway. And then after that sort of happened, the unions, kept demanding higher wages, which is not in itself a bad thing. It's just that if you're demanding higher wages than everywhere else in the country, and you live in a country with 50 states, then you're,
competition.
In industry is free to move elsewhere.
Yes.
Which actually just happened again. We actually just repealed this week in Michigan. We repealed the right to work law, which was a law that said that if you worked for a company that had a union and had a union workforce, you weren't required to join it. You could negotiate your own wages instead of being forced to join the union and forced to take union wages. And so they just repealed that. So now everyone in Michigan who currently isn't part of a union and works at a union factory or shop is going to be forced to join the union and take union wages again, even though it's a massive pay cut for many of them.
Oh, wait. They're forced?
Yeah. In Michigan, okay. up until 10 years ago, if you worked at like Ford or GM or Chrysler or any of those places, you were forced to join the union and you had to take the union wages. You had no choice. You couldn't make any more than anyone else. There was no, and wages are based solely on seniority. There's no other factors considered for your wages. So you make, your first year you make this amount, second year you make this amount, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, Danny, you're a supporter of unions, but are you a supporter of like being forced to join a union?
This is very interesting because like words do have a different meaning depending on where you come from, right? Because that's not a union in France. In France, it's more like it's a committee that's going to interface between you and a company when things go when the fecal matter hit the fan.
Fecal matter, yeah, nice.
Yeah. Are you allowed to talk to your boss? Like, say you're working in a union in France and you want to, you have a complaint. Can you go talk to your boss, or do you have to go to the union rep?
No, basically what happens is you do whatever you can on your own, and if something goes wrong, you go to the union and you say like, guys, I have a problem, like help me negotiate. Union, they have lawyer, they have resources, they have so they provide resources for the workers.
Advocate.
They are your advocate, exactly. But and of course they have this organization, say as in they are organized. And if enough workers within a company or within an industry face a similar problem, then a strike happens. This is why we strike so much. Also, this is one of the reasons we strike so much. And on a more general, like countrywide level, they actually. I'm not gonna say they act like a political party, but they not like a lobby either. It's a bit in between the two. There is no financing, that goes on, but they represent people during social conflicts.
Are you required to pay dues in France? If you're working at a company that has a union, are you required to pay union dues?
Dues to the union.
So this,
even if you're not in the union, like say you work for a company that has a union, but you didn't join the union, are you still required to pay the dues?
So you know what I'm gonna have, because I'm not an expert in politics either. I'm just gonna do a search like how to join, for instance, the CFDT.
And actually, I brought up that part of the agreement I was talking about for the battery company in Michigan. If you want, I can look at that. I can.
Oh yeah, can we see that again? Like that was interesting. The Communist Party thing. Yeah.
Just a moment. So basically,
Danny has a question. So yeah, okay.
no, just to answer, like one of the unions, which is called the CFDT, is one of the biggest unions in France. Um, you have to pay something like 5%. No, not 5%. What am I saying? If you make 1,200 euros a month, you have to pay 9 euros per month, and it means that it's gonna be 108 euros for a year, and 71 euros of these are tax deductible, so it's very affordable.
Okay, that's not very much. And you're not forced to join these unions, right?
You're not forced to join those unions.
Yeah, I won't be trying to understand what's happening in Michigan, but like that's an interesting way to do it, to force people to join.
We'll see here. This isn't just in Michigan, but in the United States in general. If you don't live in a state that has what they call right to work laws, which what they call it right to work because you have a right to work without a union interference, essentially.
Okay.
So say you work. Just pretend you're a Ford employee. You joined Ford, and now you're joining, and you're in the union. You have 3% of your wages automatically get deducted from your check to go to the union, without you have no say so in it whatsoever. And if you were to talk to your direct supervisor one-on-one without a union rep there, you would get written up by the union, and if you get written up twice, you lose your job.
What?
So you're not they legally can't talk to you.
How many states have these rights, the right to work laws? I'm just interested.
It fluctuates. Michigan is the first state to repeal its right to work law in ever. No other state has ever done that. But I can just Google it real quick.
Cool. Wow.
I believe it's more than half. 26. Yeah, so there's 26. There was 27. There was 27. Now there's 26. Yeah, it's essentially, yeah, you can probably guess. There's a few that are surprising, like Wisconsin, Washington.
Okay.
Washington State's pretty liberal, but they have a right to work law, but it predated when they got really liberal.
That's a bit of a paradox, right? Like it's a right to work law, and it's like it's not the union law. It's like this is here's the thing. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of politicians are well-meaning, at least at first, and systems are built to be well-meaning. Like I mean, Big Brother, like even probably, and in 1984. But like it always ends up being sort of bad. I don't know. Well, Danny has something to say. I have. He has a,
oh, sorry.
You know my face so well. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. Well, no. What I was thinking is
I'm actually just doing this. And, yeah.
Power hates a vacuum. If you're in a situation where the current social environment, the current government fails to address a specific problem, you're gonna have a structure that's legitimate or not that's gonna take its place to address this problem. And it's in France with what we call the parallel economies, which is basically drug dealing and other form of crimes. The mafia is also a very good example of it. I've known a lot of Italians, right, from Italy. So if you're Italian and if I'm saying something wrong, just correct me in the comments. But basically what they say is like this is when the government is too corrupt or too inept to do something, then the mafia comes in and they actually work security. It's a parallel way of governing. It's a parallel axis of power that actually comes through the crack, put its foot on the door and addresses the problem. So sometimes it's security, safety, sometimes it's economy, sometimes it's whatever, but it happens. And it looks like this union thing is part of the problem. It ends up being detrimental because it's because power corrupts, I guess.
Because power corrupts. And Josh, you wanted to say something too.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that well, I was gonna explain it. I think if I explain this part of it, you might understand why. So, in the United States, everyone has a cap on what they can donate to politicians, right? So, like me as an individual, I can donate like $1,200, for instance, to local politicians in a given political cycle. That's the most I can donate at total. and then they have to track that. So unions are the only organization in the United States exempt from this. They can donate as much as they want to anyone as they want, and there's no limits on them whatsoever. So if they're the only ones. That no other organization, no corporation. Like, I mean, a lot of people blame corporations for all of that sort of stuff, but unions are the only ones. They can force people to pay dues, and they can use all of those dues to donate to the politicians of their choice, which generally happen to be on one side of the aisle, and generally are pro-union or pro-union in the American sense.
There is no way it can go wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What could go? And if you ever call them out on that, they say, "Well, that's because they're representing the workers." So, of course.
So, but this is super interesting because, like, knowing that we're on opposite ends of the political spectrum, but I noticed that the differences between the concept and between how they're approached between France and the US, like, I'm basically saying that France and the US are different countries, like, duh. But it's very interesting for me, and I think it's gonna be very interesting for those who listen to see, like, the deep cultural and deep execution differences in concept between several countries, because a lot of people judge Americans and American politics without knowing these kind of things.
Yeah, I see it here too. Well, here, Asia.
A minor interesting thing too is we've had right to work for 10 years, and they predicted when it passed, they predicted this big union apocalypse, but of course that didn't happen because a lot of people like to join unions, so they still did. But every poll done from then until now, even the last one that was done in January of this year, showed overwhelming support for right to work in Michigan, even among union members. Union members didn't want to force other people to join, but that didn't stop them from. But that was specifically why they poured so much money into, like the AFL-CIO, for instance, is a large union in the U.S., and they poured roughly $20 million into our governor's race, which is only on one side. Yeah,
that's a lot of money. That determines elections. I'm interested in that letter you keep trying to share, Josh. We should discuss that. This the one with the big red circle.
Oh yeah. I didn't make that edit. There's actually I was trying to find a clean copy of it, but I was having a hard time finding a clean copy of it on short notice.
That's fine. Can you show it? Can you show it again? Yeah. You should import this to Myriad, by the way. Like, just so we know.
Yeah.
This tell us about this.
It's with that's what I was saying earlier. This is with the Goshen High Tech. That's what the name of the company is that they're attempting. So they want to give them a $300 million tax break to build a battery factory in Michigan, which is like spread out over 20 years. So, because communist parties don't like to pay taxes, of course. But it's not this one's different because
communists know all about taxes, right? Like, I mean, right?
Well, the interesting thing about this one too is it's not Chinese investment; it's specifically CCP investment. Like the Chinese Communist Party of China is the one specifically doing the investment.
The party doesn't pay taxes in China. Okay, I take that back.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
But this is the part I was talking about. There's Article 8 and Article 9, whereas the chairman is the legal representative of the company, which means that they would be the one to come here and represent, it would be the CEO essentially. It's just not a CEO, but they'd be the one in charge of the company and the one representing the company to the state of Michigan.
I see.
And then the Article 9 explains who is qualified to be the chairman, and that is what it says: the company shall set up a party organization. So set up a party organization inside of Michigan, inside of the United States, and carry out party activities inside the United States in accordance with the Constitution of the Chinese Communist Party, or the Communist Party of China.
Someone actually approved this, legally approved this.
Yeah, the governor is pushing for it really hard. It's not been completely approved through the legislature yet, but the governor is very much in favor.
That's not good. I mean, that's Danny, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just I'm dumbfounded discombobulated. Uh, like why? I mean, how?
Well, I was in
uh,
Shanghai. When I went to Shanghai and went to like I also went to Shenzhen and the Tencent building. You guys know Tencent, right?
oh yeah.
They're huge.
The company that owns everything.
Yes. Right in front of the building, you can see the Chinese Communist Party building. It's a smaller building, but like it's right in front of it, and so yeah, it's like one. I mean, there we know the practices, like the Tencent practices, right? And we know like that's the way the business has been running in China for decades after the party, well after the Cultural Revolution and Communist Party taking over. And yeah, that's the way they do business, obviously. But like I mean, but when we're talking about companies that are active not in China, like I mean, we can frown at the companies that are active in China that follow the way China does things, but like it's more than frowning. If it's more than like frownable upon if it's companies in the US or in Indonesia or in France that are actually controlled by the Communist Party directly and um, might affect governments.
Yeah. You know, I think like a lot of people think that sovereignty is a bad word, but it isn't really.
What they do?
Well, depending on the
They're not listening to
translation.
this show. That like those people aren't listening to this show.
Depending on the translation and the context, like people think like for instance some French people would think that a sovereign state of France within the context of Europe would be a bad thing, and they actually would tie it to ultra nationalism, especially since there the word sovereign in it, and you know that sovereigns are not well liked in France. Like it's emotionally charged for some people.
Oh.
It's emotionally
Oh,
charged.
the word sovereign itself. Yeah,
The word
sure.
sovereign itself, like the
Not
the, the,
self.
the power of
It's actually self sovereignty, right?
so,
Like it's not.
yes.
Yes, that's the problem.
And
Yeah.
that's an example of why sovereignty is important. I mean, you build a nation as a state, as a government. You have a responsibility to let's say build a system that guarantees a decent level of living for your citizens, because you have the monopoly of violence, you have the monopoly of the law, you have the monopoly, so you need to give something back, right? You can't just delegate that, and you can't just outsource that to China. Basically,
Yeah.
this is wow.
Speaking of, just because you reminded me of it, have you seen John Wick 4 yet? Either one of you?
Yeah, I have. Twice.
Did- So
Yeah,
so you know well, you know who the bad guy is. That's not giving anything away. The
Chinese guy.
he's a French guy called
The French guy.
the
The
Marquis.
French guy. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, the French guy. The fake French guy though. He's
Yeah,
but like yeah, okay.
yeah.
But
It's
we-
called the bad guy is the Marquis de Gramont.
Yeah.
Oh, but we make really good villain.
Oh. Oh, you'd like this one. You'd
Oh
like
yeah.
French are the new Russians. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that
I'm just kidding.
that French swear words are incredible. It's like wiping your ass with silk. This is from the Matrix trilogy. It's,
Oh.
Oh yeah.
quote. Yeah. It's I'm old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I do have that. If you want, I can
We're
share that
all
poll.
old,
That I can
by
share
the
that
way.
poll too, if you guys want to show that, just to show that I wasn't making that up about the
Yeah, sure.
majority of workers.
Sure. Show it. I mean, we believe you, but sure.
So here's a reaction to the statement: workers should have the right to decide whether to join a labor union, and workers should never be forced, of course, to join a union or pay dues to a union as a condition of employment. So this breaks it down by ideology. So ideology aggregated liberal, 58% strongly agreed with that statement.
I'm
Even the union. So people who are ever union and today are part of a union, 63% of those said yes.
Wow.
To to that,
Then
but
then why
they still
is it
repealed it anyway.
then yeah, why is it still a thing? Like this is
Because the unions because the unions were losing money, and so they pay a lot of the. I mean, unions fund about 60 to 75% of the Democratic Party in the United States because they're not limited to how much they can donate. So all of the money they get, and they have really no other expenses, so all of the money they get, they can put into politics.
that's not the way it's done here. I think Asia mostly doesn't have this.
Asia
Like I
has
mean,
unions.
the force I Asia actually does have unions. It depends on the company. Like some companies don't have unions and some
I
companies
see.
do, right? And but like yeah, Indonesia does have unions. And there is no way, like like someone would be like if someone were to be forced to join a union as a condition of employment in Indonesia, that's yeah, no one's gonna join that company.
Yeah, the union would probably end up like the headquarter would probably end up inflamed after like a couple of weeks.
Yeah. We don't like that either.
Yeah, yeah.
And you mentioned organized crime in France, like organized crime helps the unions out, but in the
No,
U.S.
I didn't say that. I say that it's a parallel vector of power that takes place in a power void. There is
Or
no
vacuum.
relationship between organized crime and unions in France.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
What about
Well,
an
here there is. I'm sure you've seen some of the old movies, but in the
yeah.
U.S., like there's a big crossover. Like the unions use the retirement funds to loan money, quote unquote, to organized crime, who then uses that. I mean, that's how Las Vegas was built.
But
Was
banks do the same
was
thing, right?
Yeah, but usually you're required to pay it back.
Yeah,
Like the problem with this through the
Mm.
60s and the 80s
Yeah.
with the UAW was that they loaned all this money to organized crime, who then wrote it off and said they lost it, and then that was it. And then that was the retirement funds for everyone.
The,
wow.
so much bafflement in this episode. So much bafflement. I'm baffled.
I think you're not the only one that's baffled. I mean, okay, so I haven't been an employee for like 7 years, and I did actually technically work for an American company, but like I was offshore, right? Like I wasn't there. So I didn't know about this. I remember IBM not having unions, in particular. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm baffled to see that like something that sort of like sounds so good on paper, because I talked to Danny a lot, and I agree with Danny, like the way sort of like most of the unions that he tells me about makes it sound that like it's a good advocacy mechanism for people who are working for big companies, for not just big companies, for companies basically, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm actually like, technically on the other side as a capitalist, but I recognize sort of like the value in that, like the value of actually having like whatever my political orientation, I recognize the value of actually having advocacy. But like what Josh is saying here, like it's if it's a forced entry group where you pay dues into and has like sort of like supranational power, where it exceeds like the power of the individual, that's centralization of power, and that's bad. We This is like half an hour low, 25 minutes,
Yeah.
and we've only talked about unions. That's not actually the theme of the episode. Obviously, we have a format. Our format is usually we go through Myriad and share news, and this is so yeah, about unions we might need to continue at some other time, but like I think we can just go straight into the core of our show, which is going through Myriad and looking at stuff. Danny, would you like to start?
I have things, various things to share. So let me share my screen. That was about the CFDT. Okay, it's gonna be very eclectic today.
That's
I just wanted to show you that it's beautiful.
What is this?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It is.
Well,
It is.
you know what it is? It is intelligence française, right?
French intelligence, the intelligence of
Yeah,
French
intelligence as in
people.
smarts, you know.
Oh, okay.
Like yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
France, they produce their own computers for quite a while, and
I know you guys have like internet, right? Like earlier than anybody else. Like
so
some form of internet, basically.
okay, like here you're touching you're pinching a string that's so close to my heart. I'm gonna have to share more about this because this is one of my I'm gonna say like others say like nationalistic pride, like the Minitel.
The
So
Minitel.
the Minitel.
I remember reading about this. Good.
I need to
Oh,
show you what a Minitel is because this thing was beauty. Was just so basically instead of having internet, what we had a mainframe infrastructure, and these little beauties, this fantastic Art Deco retro futuristic piece of dumb hardware, right? Were dumb terminals. And what you would do is you had what you call a Peritel plug, which is probably you guys have never seen that in your life. Peritel plug, probably no. It's not even a Peritel. That's what on the TVs, but French phone line plugs. I this
Oh,
this
no.
was a phone line plug in France. Phone line adapter.
Different?
See how it is? See how it doesn't plug directly into the wall? It plugs into this adapter first and then into the wall for reasons that I cannot fathom, that I haven't been like to the bottom of. So the Minitel had an adapter on the adapter. So you plug this into an adapter that had a hole in the back and looked like this in the front. You plug that into the wall, and you dial the number on your phone, which at the time could very well be a rotary phone. Usually it was 11.
You had internet with rotary phones.
Yeah. You could theoretically do that. It would be 11 or it would be 3615, 3614, depending on how much you want it to be charged and what services.
When was this? The what, 2000s?
Oh no. Look at the date here.
Oh no!
Older than me. And it stopped in 2009, so it got really durable. And you would have those like
I actually want one, Danny.
that's good luck
So
using
sorry.
it. You can use an emulator that are like simulators and emulators around there, and you could consult. You could connect to a broad range of services. So you had a prompt after you did like 3615, and you would type the code, and it would redirect you to the service. And so you had a phone book. You could book train tickets online. You could see like movie schedules. You could like whatever small text-based service you could deliver. You would do it through the Minitel, and of course there was like spicy chat rooms and everything. Like
Spicy, by spicy, what kind of spice do you mean?
I mean porn.
Okay. I mean that's
So
this is government owned though. Like is it like government approved porn? Oh, I forgot. We're in France.
we don't have we don't have to approve porn for government. It's part of our culture. Come on.
All right. Okay. Sure.
It's like we'd have to approve bread. I mean,
was this your first experience of porn?
Oh, that's a very personal question, but no, my first experience of porn was associated with my first experience of climbing something really tall, which was a bookshelf. Like it shouldn't have been that sturdy.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No.
I mean, I'm tall. Sorry, Danny. I just had to say it.
I
Well,
was
compared to you,
7.
I
I was 7. For God's sake.
I'm gonna ask my boyfriend Monty. Like, what's his first experience with porn? Let's ask him. You go on ahead, Danny.
Yeah, so I want to discuss something with Josh, who has an experience in the military. This is something I found out. So I know you're really really happy about Reddit, and this is your favorite social platform, Josh. Sarcasm, 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 and
Definitely
so
no leftist cesspool at all.
but don't talk like this
Beautiful.
about my people, man. We're not bacterias. So anyway, go. I'm gonna give myself an upvote. So just because. And so you could actually join the conversation and comment and tell us like in writing what you think about this. But 77% of young Americans are too fat, mentally ill, on drugs, and more to join the military. So I'm not. I'm not. I do respect and appreciate the
Sorry.
service of.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
Mm.
Yeah, that was Monty. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I do appreciate the service and sacrifice of military forces, and I do recognize and understand the needs of a military force. But I'm not much of a military person. I don't understand much about this. So it would be interesting if you had, if you had more to say about oh, we need to. Oh, people
Yeah.
know what my Reddit is now. My God, I dox myself. So
No, yeah. I mean, it's been an issue. I think even when I joined in 2006. So it was a while ago now. Doesn't seem like that long ago, but I guess it was. But but even then, I mean, I was too fat when I first tried to join, so I had to lose weight. I had to wait like 6 months and go do a bunch of exercise and get down because you have to be under a certain BMI, and I believe they've even raised the BMI since then.
Oh.
That you're allowed to be in. It's just joining. I mean, once you're in, I mean, they can actually. I had to go to fat camp. Fun fact. They have a fat camp where they feed you very small. You're on I think a calorie deficient diet of 1,200 calories a day, and then you work out 3 times a day until you're at the proper weight, so you can start basic training. So that's like before you join basic training.
did
That's
you
like the
pass out?
pre-basic
I
training.
would pass out. Did you pass out?
No, not well. I did have a heat. I was a heat casualty a couple times where I couldn't function anymore.
Wow.
And they had to give me an IV, but they don't. It's not like like in the civilian world when you get that way, they kind of baby you and give you an IV and put you on a table. You usually are carrying a rucksack, so they just tie an IV to your rucksack and they give you an IV and they tell you to keep going.
Oh.
And then they just turn up your IV all the way.
Oh, that sucks.
So that's their fix whenever you get. So once you're that person, I was that person once, and then so after that they would always just pre-IV me. So they would just give me an IV beforehand, and then I would just march
Okay.
with an IV.
They thought of everything.
Yeah.
Well, at least if you're on drugs before joining, you're used to the needle, but still.
Yeah. So so drug use, the military is kind of weird in that regard. Like they have a zero tolerance. So, but it's based on if you tell them you did it or not. So if you and technically it includes everything. So including marijuana, all of that. If you ever did any of that, and you tell them you did, then you're disqualified forever without a waiver, is what they call it. A waiver is where you have to like go explain yourself and tell them why they should let you do it anyway. But you also
about the overweight thing, like when I was in the US, I felt thin, Danny. Like I felt super thin. I mean, comparison.
I must be a hobbit in the US. Like I'm 168 centimeters. I'm European, so sorry. I'm using the normal measurement units of normal people everywhere.
Normal's relative.
So basically, yeah, I'm short. I weight 62 kilos now. I probably end up, if I played football, I probably end up at the ball.
That's
At
the
least,
ball.
at least you don't use. At least you don't say stone from your measurements.
Oh, stone.
Well, the other thing too
Yeah.
on the mentally ill part is you can't. So you can't have ever been on SSRIs ever.
Oh.
And then you
Oh.
also aren't allowed to join or serve while if you have medications that you have to be on, like permanent medications, so like of any type. Because if you get deployed, you get obviously you probably wouldn't have a pharmacy nearby
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can refill your prescription at. And that even includes birth control. So like women can't take birth control while they're in the
Oh.
military.
Okay.
Which, again, I don't see how it could go wrong ever.
I mean, that's actually like that's actually smart, Danny. Like because like otherwise like you wouldn't be. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah. No, no.
yeah.
It's the duh. I mean, like for the reason Josh quoted, like if you're, I guess I've never been in one, but if you're in a war zone or something, you can't just refill your prescription. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
you can't be dependent on a drug.
Yeah.
That's why the transgender thing was so controversial.
I was
because
I initially like, I think we had this conversation, right? Like just tell everyone like the
Well, tell us
transgender thing,
more.
Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I was just saying that's why the transgender thing was so because you know if you're on hormones, you have to keep taking the hormones, otherwise you revert, you know, your
Right.
hormones revert back to their biological, you know, even you know, so that's why being transgender was a disqualifier for being in the military. It had nothing to do with being transgender itself. It had to do with
It
you can't
wasn't
take
bigotry. It
hormones
was
and
logic.
be in the
Like it's
military.
yeah, yeah.
I see.
And the narrative back then, like, the narrative that was a few years ago. I was against it. I was like against what, like why aren't you allowing trans people in the military? And like Josh, I talked to Josh. Josh told me like that actually makes sense. And okay, all right. I mean, that's one of the things that it's just one of the conditions that when you take it from a logical perspective, but of course, like you can't be dependent on any drug.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So since I need like my 8 ball like every morning and every evening, I wouldn't be able to join the military.
No, that's
living up
due to
living
your
up that
liver,
CEO
man.
title. I see.
There's nothing wrong with it. So anyway, um, oh, we were talking about union case study. This is I like this because we talked about so I've been on this Indonesian radio show on a radio that's called RPK, right? And we were talking about things like
RPK.
RPK, yeah. We were talking about things that have to do with resilience, especially when a crisis is coming, and
Did you say Brazilian?
resilience.
Resilience. Sorry, I was thinking.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
what
I'm
does Brazilian wax have to do with this?
Get your mind out of the gutter.
this is getting too intimate for for public reveal. I might do a reveal later if I get really famous.
No, no. All right.
Next episode of a Myriad of Chain, Danny's
Danny
armpit
shows
reveal.
his Brazilian.
So no,
No.
at this point,
You know they don't do a Brazilian there, right? Like just checking.
yeah, no, I do. I'm
Okay.
just trying to keep
All right.
things PGs,
All right,
PG.
all right. Yeah.
So, I stated that the power of community is actually amazing when it comes to resilience, but when it comes to career, and this is also one of the reasons that we made Myriad. It's all about communities and everything, and this is super interesting. So, a Union College study found that joining a fraternity in college lowered the student GPA by 0.25 points, which seems logical because you have more things on your plate, right? But also increased their future income by 36%. The power of networking.
Does this apply to sororities? I would like to know.
Does this apply to sororities? So I'm gonna dox myself again, and I'm gonna go to the original article, which, because I'm an internet person, I have not read.
Always-
IDN
That's why they always
RTFA.
say it's what you know, not who you know, or who you know, not what you know. I said that back.
Yeah. So I'm glad I know you guys.
Changes in
Oh,
with
it's
fraternity
just
membership.
fraternity.
Yeah, it's just for fraternity. So
Just for the dudes.
keyword fraternities. Yeah. So the results suggest that fraternity membership produce large gain in social capital. See, social capital. This is a very interesting keyword. It's here.
Alcohol-related behavior does not explain much of the effects of fraternity membership. What? Alcohol-related behavior.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, hey, Josh, have you were you in a frat? Were you a frat boy?
I mean,
yes, but not one.
I know what that
not a real
refers
one.
to. Like that sentence is super weird. Like it's just mentioned there, but like it just says that it does not explain these effects much. But like, why would you mention it? I mean, okay, all right. I mean,
I was in-
classically,
I was
I
in-
guess there's a lot of drinking there.
Yeah. Well, I was in Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia, which is a. I was only in it for 1 year, but it's a music fraternity.
Oh,
for
cool.
for band geeks, because I actually played marching band in college.
Oh,
Oh
nice.
yeah, I
couple
remember
years.
you telling me. Yeah,
I was
that's
I was
awesome.
trombone.
Trombone. All right. The trombone, like the sliding one, or the
Yeah.
oh wow. That's
Do you still
that's a hard
play,
instrument.
Josh?
I still have it. I wouldn't say.
You still
I
have
play. Yeah. I haven't played in a while. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of call for a trombonist in normal life.
Yeah. I mean, it's different from guitars, right?
So
Social Animal House
not a
is
lot
a-
of not a lot of ska bands around.
So
first off, ska is awesome, especially Spanish ska. But ska is awesome, and I'm gonna die on this hill twice if I have to. Okay, and
I
second,
agree.
yeah, right.
Ska's pretty good. Like what was it? Come on, Eileen. The ska song that went like viral.
Well, that's a remake, but yeah.
Yeah, the ska version of Come On, Eileen.
Um,
by those guys. Do you remember what band it was?
Just be careful
Like,
how you spell it when you Google it.
Oh. And we're demonetized. So, so at this point, we still can find a use for you because we don't have a soundboard yet. So we might need a sad trombone sound on the set.
A use for you.
I'll have
Josh,
to-
you have a use now.
I'm useful. That's good.
Yay.
So but what was do you still like meet people from your fraternity? Do you have like still a network with them?
No, that's why I said I don't think it really counts for me, because it was
Oh, all right.
because it was more of a like a social club than a fraternity. Like we didn't have like a house per se. I mean, I went to at that time I went to like several colleges because I was in the military at the same time, so I kind of like went around colleges to different colleges. So that year I went to a private Presbyterian college where like the rules were like you couldn't even have a woman inside your dorm room, like, unless your door was open and you had someone watching you from the outside. Like that was the type of rules at that school that I went to, because it was a private Christian school. So
okay. Private school kid. Josh.
well, it was college. It was a private college, I guess.
Okay. Josh, important question. Did it lower your GPA? Like that's the other part of this, right?
it honestly was a little harder just because there was all the extra stuff we had to do. Like we did like Christmas programs and stuff like that.
So you're actually missing out. You got all the negatives without any of the fun. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone.
Well, I switched colleges, and the new college I went to didn't have a chapter there, so it was kind of, I wasn't able to keep going.
Okay. Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, these are the things I wanted to talk about to Josh, because it's cool to have like real life insight from an actual real American person with
real
American experience.
Like you
know.
There's 300 million of them, Danny.
Yeah, of course, but I'm pretty sure
I'm a real one.
Yeah, you're a real one.
I'm pretty sure that between Josh and 300 million of other people, there is an intersection, a meaningful intersection in the Venn diagram when it comes to life experience.
Yeah.
I mean, they all breathe, don't they? You breathe, right?
Most of the time, I try to
Yes.
if I can.
I'm holding my breath right now, Danny. From the cringe. I'm sorry.
So, Josh, do you
I'm
have
actually
something
laughing.
to show us, like on Myriad?
Oh yeah, Josh. I think it's your turn, and Danny, stop trying to be host.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Come on, man. Josh,
Sure.
your turn.
Force of
Share
habit.
the screen. Go ahead.
Okay, I did import this just to show. So it was the first week that we had. I remember we talked about to tie in the union discussion from earlier with the Myriad discussion. So this was the last week's jobless claims by state, and if you notice there at the top, Michigan is at the top
Oh wow.
with the new jobless claims for after last week's.
That's Michigan, Massachusetts, California, New York.
Yeah, but Michigan, we were at the very bottom of this the last time it was up. So we had almost 5,000 new jobless claims last week after they passed or after they repealed right to work, which I'm sure that's not related at all
Not related at all.
to.
This is really interesting. Can you show the graph again?
Yeah.
Because like there's something that titillates me as a foreigner, right? So okay, Michigan is something else, right? But okay, California, New York, Texas,
Yeah, Texas over there.
yeah, Washington. Like these
This
are
is weekly
things.
change, right? Like this is
Yeah,
probably something happened there also. Like we can't really make like a determination just based on this, except for the
true.
fact that with that
Yeah, I mean,
that
this is only
yeah,
1 week, so
right.
it's not. You
Yeah.
can't read
Yeah.
too much into it, but it's still worth noting that that was the first week that they repealed right to work, and that suddenly
Yep.
5,000 people are without jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, not associated at all. Like yeah, it's a coincidence basically.
The other
Yeah.
thing worth
So
noting too in the United States, I don't know if it's the same where you
statistical
guys
fluke.
live. Well, I don't know if it's the same where you guys live, but you can't claim unemployment unless you get fired in the United States. So if you quit your job, you can't
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
yeah,
claim
yeah.
unemployment.
Same
So
here.
these are all people
Yeah.
who lost
Yeah.
their jobs involuntarily.
Same in France actually.
I
Okay.
think it's universal, right? Like it's
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, anything else? Like the
Yeah.
graph, but yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if you're aware of. Have you ever heard of Title IX referenced in the United States? When
Yeah.
you're Title IX
Yeah,
is
but
like
tell
what
us
is
about
it?
it though.
Okay,
Tell
so
the audience about it.
Title IX gives federal funding to schools for their athletic programs. Because for some reason we fund schools three different ways. We have the main funding for schools, or the main source of school funding is property taxes. Most of your property taxes go to fund schools, your local school district. And then the second way it's funded is with the state lotteries, like the lottery program in the states.
Okay.
In each state.
Yep.
And then the third way is the federal government takes money from you and then gives it back to your schools after taking its cut of it. So that's usually the lower part, but the reason the federal government does that is so it can control, because it would be unconstitutional for the federal government to tell states how to run their schools. So what they do is they give you money as long as you follow their rules, and if you don't follow the rules, you don't get the money. So Title IX is specifically about sports, and this is the new proposed amendment to that the Biden administration put this week, which was it would, because I'm sure you've heard about the row over biological males identifying as female in high schools and then dominating their respective sports categories. So a lot of states are banning that. So this says that now it would limit or deny it, or that they would be in violation of Title IX if you limit or deny a student's eligibility to participate in a male or female athletic team consistent with their gender identity instead of their gender. So it's specifically saying that now you lose all federal funding if you don't allow trans students to play in whatever leagues they want to play in.
Yeah, this is yeah, Danny, would you like to comment first?
Well, as a non-transgender, the one thing.
Are you not though? Like you're short and like you're 60 kilograms, and I'm sorry.
No, I'm very feminine, and I have a lot of anima in me, and my inner woman is always alive, very much. But I did consider when I was younger. I did consider, but no, I didn't because I was comfortable in the end. But what I'm thinking is, it looks like a lot of complication instead of just making a transgender pool. I mean, maybe because there is
You
not enough.
transgender pool.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because but maybe it's not relevant because there is not enough transgender kids in the schools, right? So like the kids,
Right.
the one or two, transgender kids like will end up playing football like alone, and that wouldn't be nice. Then again, sports in France, right? School sports absolutely don't have the same meaning as in the US. Is you're not gonna qualify for a sports team for later for college and stuff that
Mm,
brings fun to college and stuff. You just play sports.
yeah.
So if the girls want to play with the boys, like screw it, like let them, because we consider it not as a money gainer but just a game.
It's
As
not
soon-
serious business. It's
yeah, it's
serious
not
business
serious
here
business.
in the US.
And as soon
Yeah,
as money is involved, like things get ugly. That's all I'm gonna say.
well, there's not. I
I
wouldn't say
mean,
there's not so much money involved in high school sports. Like,
Mm,
okay.
I mean, Title IX also does college, so you're right about the money on that part. But as far as high school goes, it's more of a still a pride thing. But I mean, we
Mm,
put a lot of effort into it. Like, I mean, the school I went to growing up,
mm,
I would play on
mm,
the football team there too, and we had a $10 million stadium for playing football in. But it was built completely with private funds that were
mm,
donated to the school by the alumni. But
mm.
it was just, but that's just more of a point of pride thing. But I mean, if you look like, if you track a lot of these sports, the main criticism isn't that there's transgender people; it's that the people who are playing in the women's sport or the girls' sports, I guess, had been male athletes previously that were just
mm.
mediocre, and then they see
Yeah,
what the
Yeah,
girls'
that's
times are, and so they decide they want to be girls, and then they break records.
yeah. I mean, this all stemmed historically. This all stemmed from what happened in the Olympics, right? This was like many years, and this was an international thing. This is not the
yeah,
U.S. But a few runners were intersex. A few female runners were XY, and that actually caused a lot of problems. I think an African intersex woman was I guess like had her medals taken away because of it, and that caused that was like in the 80s or something, and that actually caused a lot of the I guess transgenderism wasn't like such a big thing back then. So a lot of these laws, that allow transgender people to choose where they want to be, like with championship, that actually stemmed from like the rights of intersex people. Maybe there should be a distinction, I don't know, but I've learned a lot about the history of this, and it really stemmed from that.
mm.
Yeah, not gonna solve it in this podcast, so yeah, Josh, continue please.
Well, keeping on on the same category, I don't know if you guys are. I, I know it's sort of a sad meme from outside the U.S. looking in about school shootings, but
Mm.
I don't know. The last school shooting we had was a transgender person, and then they just stopped one today. That was another transgender person, but this was a biological male female that was planning a massive school shooting in Colorado Springs. They had the plan all laid out. They had their manifesto written. And they had a bomb that they had made.
Mm.
So
This
the police
this this
the
was
police wound up catching them.
this is like just to differentiate, Danny. There's a transgender shooter, and
Yeah.
this is a different person. Transgender shooter was a week ago, like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
This just happened.
Yeah, the one 2 weeks ago was a transgender female to male who had went
Yeah,
to a
female to male.
Christian
Yeah.
school, and she went back to the Christian school,
No,
or he
he.
what
For
yeah.
sure.
But to
The I kind of I don't like pronounce, but I mean, that's yeah,
well,
that's
I'm
fine.
not. I don't think that they deserve a lot of respect. To be, I mean, if you're gonna shoot up school, I
It's
don't know.
not
I'm not that worried
it's
about
not a
it.
respecting. It's not a respecting.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I'm just saying that like they shut up a
It's a
Christian school
legal thing.
specifically
Yeah.
because
Okay.
yeah. So they stopped another one of those, but there's a there's a large there was a plan to have a large where they called the Trans Day of Rage on 331.
Revenge, Trans Day of
Yeah,
Revenge.
yeah.
So
So that there's a lot of theories that more extreme, Reddit community, for instance, is kind of pushing people to lash out at what they think, because they're being told they're being attacked constantly. So what do you do when you're attacked? Is you defend yourself, quote unquote. And
just to
how do
be
you defend yourself?
chronological here, Danny, like that happened like way before. Like they were planning this way before that, and well, like the hypothesis is like that's what caused the shooting, and it's more rage mongering, honestly. Like a bunch of like transgender people with guns on on Facebook posts and Twitter. There was a Twitter account that got deleted, I think, for violence, and like it was one of those accounts that promoted the revenge thing, transgender day of revenge.
You know what it tells me though. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to look beyond the fact that the person is well, it's kind of a crux to the problem, right? But the malaise, the
The malice,
transgender,
yeah.
not malice, malaise.
Oh, malaise. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Sorry. Sorry for assuming that you said the wrong thing, bro.
That's
Sorry.
fine. The dark place in which the transgender community might be in the US and maybe in the world, because it's like, to me, it feels like a kid that's pulled between mom and dad. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
There is a lot of people who say, you're okay if you do this. There are a lot of people who say you're okay if you do that. There is a small part of the population that will say you're not okay. That's different. And personally, I'd be in this situation, especially with all the spotlights, on my identity, because that is specifically a question of identity, right? I wouldn't know where to put myself. Like, I wouldn't know how to act.
So actually, I feel that, like, I mean, this is I'm a conservative. I think I like to say I'm strongly conservative. There's one thing though that I have not liked from sort of like the conservative community in the last few months. It's Dylan Mulvaney. Like the way we are memeing her. Like that's the way we're talking about her, like that's not I mean,
Well, there's a
be
large number of people who think that she's not really trans. Like, she just, because she was failing.
that's
She was
your
failing at being
opinion, man.
well, she was failing at being an influencer. She tried all kinds of things. Like, initially when he was a he tried being a quote unquote gay Steve Irwin, and then when that failed, he switched to being a straight guy who would go on who did van life videos with his girlfriend. And then after that, then he became a non-binary reporter for Hollywood stars. And then after that, he went back to being a gay guy, to reporting on Hollywood stars. And then he did drag for a while. And when none of that stuff caught on, then he became transgender and did this. And then he finally got his, or she got her her internet famous clout that she was going for.
I mean, even
So
even
it
if
seems like he
like,
was just trying things, like wearing, because it's kind of creepy when a biological male is acting like a teenage girl on
okay, I'm not saying I'm not saying she's not creepy. Like, she's fucking creepy. I mean, and she's on TikTok and like getting all of these brand deals. I mean, hello, like that's not like, she's not attractive to like to buy beer from like Bud Light or whatever. Like the this is
and what's the point of having Tampax sponsor a biological male? Like,
that doesn't make sense. That part doesn't make sense. But like, I mean, that's this company's being stupid, man.
They're
And
great for nosebleed, though. Sorry.
great for what? Sorry.
No, nosebleeds.
And nosebleeds.
Yeah, Tampax,
Oh.
nosebleeds.
Oh no.
I guess if you have
mean,
some seepage, I don't know.
Oh no. Anal seepage. Oh no, we're there, guys.
I didn't say that.
No,
you
well, you were referring to that. Everyone was thinking it.
I was
If it
gonna leave it up
works,
to the imagination.
if it works, it works. And the day I have a deep wound, if I have a Tampax with me, I'm gonna use it to seal that wound.
Oh, it's for bullet wounds, man. Yeah, but like, yeah, I
Would
mean,
that work? You're a soldier. Would that work?
we're
Would the
well,
Tampax work on a bullet wound?
here's the thing. Like, let me make my point.
Yeah.
Just let me make my point before we go to like the anal jokes and like, tampon jokes. Um, I I don't like bullying, and this is very close to bullying. Like, it's not even close to bullying. It is bullying. A lot of this. And that's what's causing these people to snap.
Well,
So
the specifically Dylan Mulvaney. I mean, even other trans people are making fun of her because
so
they
what?
say that she's just a meme, not real. Like just being a like
I mean, yeah, but
like think about like the most caricature. I mean, think about the most caricature version of a trans person you could think of, and that would be Dylan Mulvaney. Like, there's no.
sure, but like, yeah, but like, we don't
But
bully people.
do we just let people say they are who they say are just because they say they are that? I mean, are we? I mean
Like, if
that's
they're
just. I mean, that's an
diagnosed, like
opinion.
my stance, if they're diagnosed with it, yeah.
Well, I don't think he or I don't think she's been formally like I don't think she
You don't
sought any
know.
sort of treatment.
Like, you don't
Hmm.
know.
Well, I think they would have put it on TikTok if they did, or if she did. I would
Well,
assume.
honestly, like this is getting very close to like defining that like this person is not like like it's actually better for a person to define himself or herself than other people defining other people. Like, you can't force yourself on anybody else, Josh. Like, you can't force that. Like, you can't tell people that they're not who they think they are. That's not something you can do.
I agree from most of the time. It's just that if I said I'm a little girl, I
mean,
expect you to treat me like a little girl. I don't think that that's a reasonable expectation
I could treat
of
you like a
people.
little girl.
see.
That's later. We talked about this. That's later, Danny.
That's also fucking creepy, Danny.
That's
Like, okay.
creepy as hell. I'm sorry I made this
No,
joke for everyone and myself.
I agree. I agree. It's creepy. I agree. Like, I agree. Dylan's creepy. I agree that like she looks like a caricature, but come on, man. Like, live and let live.
I think it's just because it's being pushed by. I mean, when was the last time the vice president? When was the last time the vice president sent a letter to someone congratulating them on 365 days of being a gender? Like, that's a weird thing. Or that the president met with someone
Let's
and
not talk about
congratulated
Biden.
them.
You're biasing me like towards the other side. Like, I'm let's
I'm just
bully
saying that
Biden instead.
that was the. I mean, that's why they got such the pushback is because they're making. I mean, they are political. I mean that she's making it
Yes,
political. Like, that's
I
the whole
understand.
identity.
Making it political is terrible. Making it political is terrible. But like, we should be memeing Biden instead of memeing like Dylan, because like, live and let live. That's a person's whole personality right now.
I think it's the issue people have, at least from my perspective, is they don't think they should have to pretend just because she wants to pretend to be that. Like, just because you say, I mean, if I say I'm a billionaire, I'm not a billionaire just because I say I am. I can't make the airlines let me fly first class and tell them to take my credit card that maxed out at $200 or something.
This isn't bothering me. Like, if you were,
It doesn't really
if you were
bother me
coming,
either.
yeah, Josh, like, if you were coming to my airline asking for a free seat because you're a billionaire and you're not a billionaire, that is detrimental to me. But like this person being on like I don't know, Bud Light cans doesn't really make me like, it doesn't bother me. It shouldn't bother you. It doesn't hurt you.
It doesn't bother me personally. I mean, I
Yeah,
personally
if
don't
it
really
doesn't
care that
bother you
much, but
personally, it
I just
doesn't bother me.
understand why other people do. I mean, if you ever watch Tim Pool's very against, but that's because
I watched
he
him pro. I don't
he,
agree with him about this. Yeah, I mean,
but he pointed that out too. Was that he thinks
okay.
she's memeing the trans community, like
Yeah.
she doesn't respect it at
Maybe
all.
I don't know, but like, Tim doesn't know. Like, we can't redefine someone based on what we think they are.
There is a wider
It's
problem
worse.
about this. I think there are two wider problems about this, to my mind. The first one is I think there is a confusion about identity and agency, So, free speech wise, I can claim to be a cat, and this is fine. Now, if I apply for, let's say, animal rights, then there's going to have to be legal definitions about me being a cat, and that's going to be, there's going to have to be proofs. If there are proof that I'm a cat, well, let me be a cat. But that's very different from everything when it comes to this kind of cases. I think what we're seeing here is way earlier in the 80s, for instance, you would say, look at what fame does to people. Look at, like, I don't know, like Macaulay Culkin, for instance, the sweet kid that had like a lot of issues with drugs, and he put his life back together apparently, and that's cool for him. But exposure does change you and does rule you at some point. Look at Nikado Avocado, for instance, like this dude who started as a vegan blogger and ended up as a critically dangerously overweight person doing mukbang on kilos and kilos of food. We switched from a society where exposure was something wanted or needed and still could destroy lives, to a society where exposure is something we can get while not prepared to. And I think it comes as a warning, like when you want to be an influencer, you want to be whatever, make sure you're ready for the backdraft, because there's gonna be one. Internet right now is a toxic place, is full of haters. In any case, whatever side you're on, you're gonna be hated on. The current trend is anger and disgust and all of that, and it's getting worse because you can fake more and more things right now, and it comes as a warning. Like, as users, we need to be kinder, and as aspiring, let's say, influencers, personalities, if we want to put ourselves out there, we need to know that we're ready. I mean, just like Josh, you said, like, you went to a terrible training, in order to be physically fit for the army. You need to be terribly mentally fit in order to expose yourself to millions and millions of people, with a huge chunk of them, who are gonna hate you.
So don't bully people.
Also, that's
the point. That's sort of my point. Like, I mean, I realize this is not gonna happen. Like, I wish people were nicer on the internet to other people. That's sort of like my point. I mean,
well, I think the people who have the most issues with Dylan Mulvaney are the people who feel that it's being forced into them because she's being pushed on every product in commercials. Being on TV.
Be angry at the companies, man. Like, here's the thing. I don't like being forced. That's sort of like, but like, but live and let live. Like, if it doesn't bother me,
I mean, a lot of people are just boycotting. I mean, that Anheuser-Busch now. I mean, whether that's kind of the response is.
I agree with that.
I think there's like 10,000 bars now that aren't going to serve their products right now, and there's a bunch of famous country singers who, I mean, Bud Light is not.
That is amazing. That is a pushback towards the culture that's actually trying to like become the U.S. culture, right? The woke culture, and I agree with that. But my distinction here is don't bully don't bully that poor person.
I don't think, at least not in my opinion. I don't honestly. I've never been on TikTok, so I don't.
I've seen, like, even from the other Myriad advisors, I've seen 2 memes about this in the last 24 hours. I mean, and that's just us.
As long as it's not being directed at. I mean, as long as they're not going to see it, I don't think that's necessarily bullying. Just making fun of people. I mean, on Telegram, there's 2 sticker packs of my face that make fun of me.
Send me.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to use that for stuff. But yeah, okay. Let's agree to disagree. But like, that's for me.
I agree with you. I agree with you that you shouldn't personally bully people, but I don't think it's bad necessarily to make fun of someone who's made themselves famous by their own. I mean, if you put yourself out there, you can expect it. I mean, that's why there's sticker packs of my face, is because I put myself out there and argued points that weren't popular. So people made memes of me.
I'm not saying it's a risk. It's just like, I'm saying what I dislike about the conservative movement. And that's actually probably the one thing right now. Like veers on bullying. Like a lot of influencers are veering on bullying.
I think the conservative movement itself is just getting more, because we've always been like the people who were just kind of accepting whatever. I mean, I I'm not saying that there weren't bigots in the conservative party, because obviously there were, but they've never been openly, you know what I mean? Like the attacks have always come from the left, whereas the right kind of just smiles and waves and talks about you behind your back to each other, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
but they've sort of seen that as losing the culture war, because it always moves, because the public discussion always moves further to the left.
So I want to make a point here. I want to make a point here. This is actually losing us the culture war. Like if we were making points, like making logical points, and actually using reason instead of like like bullying, that we would win back a lot of people. Like seriously, like a lot of centrists. And again, my opinion, that's actually super important. Like you can't alienate people. Like if you want them to subscribe to your opinion, and this is alienating people. I'm telling you.
I don't know. I guess I'm not following. Honestly, I don't follow it that closely. I
Okay,
I see some of
yeah.
the funny memes, but it's not something I've really been super like into. I mean, I try to avoid TikTok at all costs normally in my life.
There's a
People
reason
send
why
me
my
TikToks and I refuse to watch them.
yeah. There's a reason one of my favorite influencers is Blair White.
Well, even she's been critical of
Yeah,
Dylan Mulvaney.
critical, sure, not bullying. Like I watch every Blair White video, man.
You know,
Fair
I
enough.
think it goes even further than that. Like the divide between people has gotten so huge and is growing so fast right now, and this is why I'm very happy to always be with you guys, even as a pinky, because this is where we find common grounds for things, and this is something I've been repeating. Like we need to talk it out with each other and to expose each other point of view so kindness can prevail, because right now, and I might root for the left, at least the European left, and but there are bullies too. Like there are bullies in both camps, and it's freaking unbearable, because the important problems. I'm not saying that gender identity is not an issue that needs to be addressed. I'm saying that there are many issues that need to be addressed, and they all need focus and they all need prioritization, because we can't all do everything at the same time. And this hatred between the two sides prevents us from focusing on the issues we all agree about and can solve together. And this is so detrimental. And the people who win on this are the people who put faces on beer bottles. Whether it's, and I'm sorry, Pandu, whether it's Trump's face on some merch, or whether it's that transgender person on a beer bottle, or whether these are the one who take profits. These are the one who go like, hey, I'm on your team, buy my product. And this is an aspect of politics I absolutely loathe. And yeah, this just a hot take. Cancel me.
You don't get a cancel.
No, well, I agree. What I can tell you, and I don't know if I 100% agree with this, but I understand what people mean. But so the reason there's such a pushback from the trans thing on the conservative side, that I've heard people articulate to me, and I mean, I go to meetings, I go to Republican meetings, I go to conservative meetings, like in real life meetings, and the thing is that they see it as, if they can force you to call a biological male a female, and there's nothing they can't do. If they can force you to do something that you don't believe is true, and you have to do it, like in Canada now, you have to do it under force of law, right? You can be arrested if you misgender someone on purpose. So
yeah, I disagree with those laws, obviously, but like I disagree based on like free speech laws.
But I'm just saying that's where a lot of people get that. That's why there's such a pushback from the conservative or Republican or the right in general.
I get it. Like the thing is, like I'm focused on winning the culture wars. I'm focused on bringing like the these like Gen Z, like what's next after Gen Z? Gen Alpha, like into the conservative movement, because like this is where we do this is where we should be, like this smaller government and like economics that makes sense. man. Like that's where we're at. Like this is a distraction. Didn't you guys see that? This is a distraction. And honestly, they're milking it for all it's worth, the left, because they know it gets you riled up, gets us riled up. Like not me, but like gets the movement.
I agree.
riled up.
I'm just telling you that's generally the consensus
Yeah.
of the people that I know is that
Should focus.
is that this is a if it's kind of like when you brought up 1984, right? If you can make someone or go back to you've watched Star Trek, right? The Next Generation, you know,
Sure.
whenever the when they're interrogating Picard and he has to say that there are 4 lights when there are only 3 lights, you know, and he's, you know, there's that big famous scene at the end where he yells there are 3 lights, or does it, maybe it's there 4, I don't remember, it's 3 or 4, but they were trying to say,
I remember that episode. I forgot number of lights. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's sort of what that's the meme that everyone uses to describe what's happening, is that they're telling you to say what you know isn't true.
The trans thing is not new, dude. Like it's not something created by the Democratic Party. It's not something.
No, but I mean, in the past.
But I do agree. I do agree. Forcing people is new. Forcing people to actually agree, that's new. But like the trans thing isn't new. It was a medical thing. It was a mental disease, and the cure is it's gender dysphoria, and the cure is surgery. That's been in the books for like decades, man. That's not something new. And now that like it's just like it's happening more often, obviously because of the culture, because the culture is pushing for it, because there's drag queens like dancing in front of kids now, and like they have their own Netflix show or whatever. I turned that off. Like, the other thing too is I mean that's but point is like there are real people there. There are real people. There are real trans people.
No, I agree. But in the past, I think the main difference in the past was there was an expectation of passability, right? Like you didn't you didn't just put on a wig and not shave that morning and call yourself a woman and expect everyone else to agree.
That's true, but Dylan, but in my opinion, Dylan's kind of passable. Like
well, no, it'll be Dylan specifically, but I'm just talking about the movement in general, where there's like you know the guys who. I mean, I'm not purposely misidentifying anyone, but the guys who show up in a dress with with a pink with a pink wig, but they have a 5 o'clock shadow.
That's where I agree with you. That's why I agree with you. The thing is, those people are identifying as women and not changing anything, and just it's different when they're trying but not quite succeeding, right? Then like they're not trying at all and just identifying as like making it like that cheapens it. And I agree that it cheapens it. It actually makes me angry that they cheapen it. And what I'm more angry about is actually non-binary people. So you know this, like this is where conservative me came from, actually, like this hatred, like the absolute hatred of people identifying as non-binary. But honestly, I'm not gonna bully non-binary people, even if I don't like them. I mean,
I agree with not bullying people. I don't really bully anyone. I mean, if someone was trying to, I mean, if I was faced with, you know, the pink hairs as people call them, then I would just kind of remove myself from that situation and not really interact with them.
I know someone with pink hair. She's a bitch.
Interesting keyword there when you talk about the culture war. I think, you know, we're breaching an era.
What time is it? Okay, yeah. 15 minutes past the hour. So breaching are you
I'm just gonna say, like, real quick, we're breaching an era where it's gonna be more and more difficult to trust anything, right?
Yeah.
And what I fear for the future is that faith in anything, I'm not talking about religious faith, right? But faith and personal conviction are gonna replace facts because of this ease you have of cheating, of creating truth-like content, right? And if you combine that with something that you label as a culture war, to me it's just reminiscent of the Crusades. You know, I look more for a culture consensus
cultural consensus.
Cultural consensus rather than a
Is that
cultural
gonna
war.
happen at all? We're getting more and more divided, Danny, and technology is dividing us, and the AIs are going to be dividing us because they can mimic any position.
I think that's our role as a species to find ways to unite.
If I was an AGI looking at humanity right now, I would say that, hey, you guys are messing up. I'm gonna take over simply because I'm the only one who can stay neutral. And I'm gonna say all governments are under AGI now, and like I'll make you guys agree because you guys can't, like you can't you can't work through your differing opinions.
Yeah, this is
without
why we
fighting.
have to evolve. This is why we have to
That's why-
evolve quick.
That's why I'm glad the nukes are still run on 3.5-inch floppies or 5.5-inch floppies. I'm sorry.
That's yeah, that's interesting.
Well,
3.5 inches of pure power.
I mean, surely though, like there are other ways than nukes to like control, like.
No, they've purposely
Society.
kept all the systems. Oh, you're saying besides
I
nukes.
know this, bro.
yeah.
I've been
yeah.
a geek like about longer than you, I think, because I'm a bit older, 1 year older. So I've been a geek all my life. Yeah.
Pull on the rank card. I see.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can't not talk about the elephant in the room, so to speak. But the
yes.
Trump indictment. Which actually I do have a lot of things. But if you go to Myriad, I have an American politics.
Go there, people. Go to Myriad. Subscribe to Timelines. If you disagree. If you agree. If you really agree, send tips.